Hey guys, this is Jake with P3. In this video we're going to show you how to install the display for your multi-gauge or boost gauge into the vent of your Audi B9. And we've got our OEM vent here, we've got our display here. First thing we always want to do is test this. We've got a test rig set up on the top of the desk here so we can go through and make sure it's working correctly. You can do this in your car with the multi-gauge just by connecting your OBD2 connection to your control box and then plug your display in your control box. Just go ahead and fire the car up, and it'll fire up when the engine's running. Make sure the buttons work, make sure the display is showing correct information just before you do the whole install, just so you can check it before you do that. On the boost gauge, you could just connect it to power and ground with your battery and then give it some input on the analog boost sensor to kick it on, and it should work the same way. So this one's good. We'll go ahead and get started. What we're going to do with this is we are just taking the center vent slat out, and then the display is going to go down in place of it like so. So the first thing we want to do is take the trim off of the vent housing. So we got our housing here, then we got our trim on the front, and there's some locking tabs around the perimeter of the vent that you got to release. And so I like to put just a little pressure on it so that once you get one tab released and work your way to the next one, the first one doesn't snap back in. And then you've got two underneath as well, same thing. Just want to release those. And you might have to play back and forth with it a little bit. There's the bottom ones. And they tend to kind of want to snap back into place, so you might have to go back and forth a few times. There we go. And the only other part is this cable is routed through some retainers on the trim, so you'll want to make sure you get that cable freed up before you pull it away from the trim. So we'll set that to the side for now. So now we've just got our vent here, and our goal again is to just take this center vent slat out and then basically replace it with this. So we're going to do that by removing all three slats. So you can take your little screwdriver or a trim pry tool and just release them on the right side of the vent, and then they just kind of all disconnect like that. And they're all three tied together with this little arm here. We don't need that, set that aside. We just get rid of our center vent slat, and the bracket is now going to be this little metal retainer that holds all three together. So the bracket has that piece built into it, just like so. You can see that here. So now instead of this holding the slats together, we are now going to use the bracket. So you can go ahead and stack the slats in. If you lose the order of which one was top, middle, and bottom, they actually have these little nubs here. And it's got one nub, two little nubs, see that on the camera, and then three. And it goes from top to bottom. So you're going to be using one for the top, two was the middle, and then three will be the bottom. So once you get those into place here, just like that, we're going to go ahead and run our cable through the vent and out the back. And you want to do this to the far left side of the vent housing, like so. You don't want it over in here because it'll mess with the vertical slats. This is the easiest path to route it through on the left side. We'll get that pushed through. Okay, so the way we want to install this is we want these three tabs to go into these three holes first. We'll do that. Line those three up. Just like so. And then it's just going to snap into place on the right side. And so now you have your display framed by the top and bottom slats. And then if you want, you can angle the vertical slats kind of over towards the driver's steering wheel, or however you'd like it. If you want it blown towards the window too, you can do that. But yeah, that's all installed now. And the other thing is we want to make sure that the cable runs under the flap in the back. So we have our cable going underneath the flap back here. You don't want to overtop because it'll interfere with your flap movement, because right now it can still shut off. Just like that. Okay, so when I do these installs, I like to do a little bit extra, and I'm going to just snip a little tiny slot out of the back of this, like so, just to give a little recess for that cable to set in. It makes it just a little bit easier on the install in the vehicle, and it just makes it a little bit cleaner. So when we are doing the pre-installed ones in-house, we try to just make it a little bit cleaner. Then I'll just take a knife here. You can slit this foam. You can sometimes pull it away with your fingers as well, but again, it's just a little cleaner if you cut it, a little less of a mess. Just give ourselves a little path to run the cable under the foam, like so. And we do want to make sure this cable is not twisted in any way. So it's pretty durable, especially where the tape's wrapped around it, and it's not going to hurt anything to fold this around the edge, just as long as it's not twisted. It's got a lot of strength when it's flat, so we can pinch that just like that. And then this is not required, but I will take a little bit of hot glue and just kind of secure that into place. And again, that just makes it a little cleaner for you guys when you're installing them in your car. Kind of keeps the cable held where it should be already. And also I will put a little dab under the foam here, and that'll keep the foam from twisting when you're reinstalling your vent. Just like that. Okay, so we can check this real quick. All right, that looks like it's gonna fit. So now we can just connect it back in. There's 2 locking tabs on the bottom and 2 on the top. So when we place this together, just want to make sure that those are lined up. I'll line the tops up first, and then go switch to the bottom just to make sure everything's going into place correctly. Just like that, and it should have a pretty good snap. And there you have it. We can double check this one to make sure it's turning on. Like that. Everything's good. And so now this is ready to be installed in the vehicle. We should have that video linked either somewhere on the screen, and you can jump over and watch our vehicle install as well. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if these videos are helpful to you, or if you have any questions, be sure to let us know in the comments. And we want to get these out here. The product's pretty easy to install, but if you have these videos, these how-to videos, just to follow it every step of the way, it just seems to work out a little better. So let us know what else you'd like to see, and thanks a lot.